You know, the air temperature's falling and the water temperature's falling, and you know those bass are going to start getting that fall transition. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about 4 baits and 4 techniques to help you catch bass throughout the fall transition period. Stay tuned.
Shane Flynn Outdoors, brought to you by Omnia Fishing. Experience the most personalized tackle shopping on earth. And by Finn's Outdoors. Gear up for every adventure. And also by Trika, engineered to dominate.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! What a big girl! Hey everybody, thanks for stopping back by the channel. Yes, fall is almost here. We had our false fall here in Virginia last week. It got real cold and now it's warm back up. And it's going to start cooling off again in a few days or a week or so. I'm starting to see the color changes in the shades of green in the leaves and a little bit of yellow starting to poke in. So you know fall's right around the corner. So I want to talk to you about 4 baits that I have used to help me catch bass over the years in the fall transition period. Now, yes, I'm sponsored by a tackle company, but they don't tell me to push certain lures. Omni is a great sponsor. They primarily sponsor our tournaments. But these are lures and techniques that I personally have been out there and caught a ton of fish on. And the techniques, a couple of these techniques I have never talked to you about, and I'm going to share with you tonight. One's been a secret of mine for years, and I'm going to spill the beans on it. But you know, these are 4 great baits. And by the way, if you think I miss a bait or or question this, leave it in the comments, and I'll be happy to talk to you in the comments about if I missed something or you thought, yeah, you didn't think about this, Shane. Yeah, go ahead, throw it down in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation with you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 baits that I'm going to fish on a bait casting rod, and I'm going to give you 2 baits that I'm going to fish on a spin casting rod. So I'm going to give you 4 baits total, 2 on bait casting, 2 on a spinning rod. And we'll start with the bait casting rod, and I'll start with the bait that I have fished the longest, or almost the longest, of all the 4 here. And it's probably not going to be a surprise to you, because I bet almost every fisherman has this bait in their tackle box. Now, when they use it and how they use it, it's a different story. But that's the good old lipless crankbait. I love me a lipless crankbait in the fall. Now, I grew up throwing the old rattle trap, but lately I've really fell in love with these Spro lipless crankbaits. And this is the Akuma shad. This is the 85 series shad. You can see it's much bigger than the standard 75 series or just a regular size lipless crankbait. Why am I throwing this size versus this size? Because the bass have grown from this size to this size in the fall, and those bass are feeding up and they'll chase this bigger bait. They want a bigger bait in the fall, it seems. And I get more bites on this bigger profile in the fall. So I like the bigger rattle trap or lipless crankbait in the fall. Spro is the one I like. There's 2 versions. There is the Akuma shad that I talked about here. That's the 85 series. Then they have the Wakuma shad. And the difference is you got 2 tie down points on the Wakuma. You can have one at the top goes from 5 to 9 feet, and the front ring is actually, the back ring is shallower. It goes from 3 to 5 feet. The front ring is 5 to 8 feet. So you can change the depths with where you tie this on. With this, and the rattle is a little bit different. Heavy rattle, light rattle. Now sometimes the rattle makes a difference and sometimes it really doesn't matter, but the key is match the hatch. Now I have primarily LY in my lake here, and they're primarily this color with a purplish back. That's why this is white with a purplish back. So I match the hatch. White's a great color in just about any color of water, but great bait. How do I fish it? Couple techniques that I use when I fish this. Great search bait, right? The lipless crankbait, you can fish it deep, shallow, mid-depth, whatever. So I use this primarily just to start the day, just searching. So I'm going to throw it across points, and I'm just going to do the regular cast and reel, right? Cast and reels. Change the pace to go deeper or shallower. Once you start getting bites, you'll find that rhythm, that depth, say it's 6-7 feet, and you'll hone in on how you need to reel it. Technique 1. That's when I'm searching for bass, and once I lock in on them, I may change that up. So one of the other techniques that I like to use, very effective technique, ripping this through the grass. Ripping this through grass. So if you got grass, I got a lot of grass in some of my lakes, I like to throw it in the grass and rip it through the grass. And sometimes when you're ripping it through the grass, the bass just come out and just hammer this lipless crankbait. So don't be afraid to throw it in the grass, or even let it sink in the grass and rip it out that way. Yo-yo it out of the grass. Very effective way to catch bass on this lipless crankbait. Third technique, if I'm in a school of bass, this is a great bait for schooling fish. Ripping it through the schools of bait fish will get you a bite. And usually the rattle will attract the bass. So usually that's the indicator that get those bass to bite it. So ripping it through the bait balls and around the bait fish that they're chasing will get you a lot of fish with this lipless crankbait. So again, match the hatch, use the bigger size. You know, sometimes the rattle does make a difference. I would stay away from the regular size. You can fish it, but the bigger one will get you a bigger bite, and I think get you more bites in the fall. I'm going to fish this on my crankbait rod, 7.3 medium heavy with 14-pound fluorocarbon. Gear ratio on my reel 7:1 is what I'll probably target. That's what usually I have on my rod, is a 7:1 rod. You guys know I'm a big fan of these Trika rods. Trika makes some great rods, great reels as well. So check those out at trikafishing.com if you're interested. Both the bait casting and spin casting, I have every model. Those rods are phenomenal, and the reels are really good as well. So that's my plug for my Trika for the episode. So what's the next bait? The next bait that I'm going to talk to you about is another one that I've been fishing with for years, and another one that I know you have in a tackle box. Now I'm just going to put a little different spin on this. Some of you may already utilize it this way, but this is the good old Zoom Fluke. The old Fluke, whatever brand you want to use. I'm just going to use Zoom Fluke because that's what this is. Now, what I like to do in the fall is I like to put an underspin on it. And why do I like to put an underspin on it? When you're competing with the bait fish, especially if you're around a lot of bait fish, you need a little something for the bass to hone in and hammer your bait. Sometimes it's a flash in the color will help, but having that underspin will get you more bites, especially when you're fishing around bass that are chasing bait fish. Just having that little spin, that little flash will get you an extra bite. Now, how am I going to fish this? You can use this as a search bait too, by the way, just like you do your lipless crankbait, because you can throw this around anything, logs, stumps. It's pretty weedless. Now, the only thing I would warn you about, if it's heavy vegetation, you'll get a lot of vegetation wrapped up in the spinner, so you want to be careful with that. You can fish the Fluke. Obviously, you can fish the Fluke without the spinner, but I'm just recommending that for the fall to get you a few more bites, a lot more bites, actually, in my opinion. But I'm going to fish this around everything, right? Stumps, stick-ups, weeds, and then just normal rhythmic pumping the Zoom Fluke. With this, it just has a little bit of spin on it. Then the second way I'm going to fish this, if I find bass chasing bait fish, especially in deeper water, if they're out in like in the middle of a cove in 10, 12, 15, 16 feet of water, chasing bait fish, I'm going to let this die down into around the depths of where the bait fish are, and I'm going to jerk it out real fast. I'm just going to pump it out real fast. Just pump it, pause, pump it, pause, pump it, pause, right out of where the bait fish is, and usually that will generate a strike on those bass. And again, I'm not taking forward-facing sonar and trying to dangle this in front of the bass's face. I'm wanting a reaction bite, so I'm just going to rip it through there. Sometimes you rip it through 3 or 4 times before you get a bite, but you'll get hammered. And most of you know, Fluke is a great bait. Just adding this little bit of flash will get you more bites, and I think it helps you in the fall when you're competing with the bait fish. Now, what am I going to fish this on? I'm going to fish this on a 7'3" medium heavy spinning rod. 12-pound fluorocarbon is what I recommend on that as well. You might want to move up to a 14 depending on the type of stick-ups and things and structure in your lake. But 7'3" medium heavy spinning rod, 12 to 14-pound fluorocarbon is what I'm going to fish it on. So there's bait number 2, the Zoom Fluke. Now we're going to stick with the spinning rod. This is a newer bait. I picked this up last year, and I caught some hammers on this. And I was going to put out an episode with this, and I got some good footage, and I may still do it. I want to put out a newer one. But I lost the only one of these I had, and they were sold out. So I've got some extras this year, obviously. Now, you may already be fishing this, but what I'm going to show you is a lipless jerkbait. Lipless jerkbait. Now this is a sinking jerkbait. When you throw it out and it sinks, it shimmies. Has a side-to-side shimmy action. You just let this sink down, kind of slow sink down, and then you can use it, fish it like a jerkbait. The technique I like to use, especially if I find a fish on forward-facing sonars, this is one you can get on a tough bite day. This is where you can get a bite. See a bass on forward-facing sonar, I throw the bait up there and I let it shimmy, sink down right in front of his face, and then I'm going to give it 2 or 3 quick pumps. And usually that bass on that 2 or 3 quick pumps will hammer it. Sometimes they'll just move up and pause. If you pause the bait too quick, and you can do it again and you might get a bite. So 2 or 3 more quick pumps and you might get a bite. If that doesn't get a bite, this is the other technique that just shocked me that worked multiple times last year. Same thing, throw it out there, let it come down in front of the bass's face, and then I'm just going to 2 or 3 pumps, don't pause it, and just keep reeling it in real fast. And that, I was shocked. I had several bass just ripping it away from them real fast, just come and hammer it. It's like they were missiles going after it. It's like, I'm not letting that meal get away. So again, jerked it 2 or 3 times, just kept on reeling. Real fast, not pause, just jerked it real fast and started reeling. And they would just hammer it. They would hammer it. So great bait. That's the 2 techniques I'd recommend using with it. Don't have to have forward-facing sonar. You can still just jerk this around use it just like a jerkbait. Just kind of have to control the speed and the depth with it. I messed around with it. I caught some fish doing it that way as well. But if it's a tough bite, this is a good bait to have to get out there and get those finicky bass. It worked real well. Now this is the DOT minnow, the dot minnow by Greenfish. And I like it in that pro blue color or a white bone color. Duo Realis actually makes one of these as well. Looks pretty good. I think this is like a $7.99 bait, and this is like a $18.99 bait. I don't know the difference, but they both catch fish. I'm sure of it. So your choice, but very effective, and that is the Lipless jerkbait. Now I'm going to fish this on a 7/6 medium spinning rod on 12-pound fluorocarbon. I like that medium action. You got open hooks. You don't need a lot of backbone to set a hook, but also it gives you that play to keep those hooks in that bass, especially those bigger bass. When they start shaking their head, the rod gives a little bit more and they can't throw this bait out. Now these have the magnets in it where you can throw this bait extra country mile, so you can cast this thing a long ways as well. So that's the third bait. Second bait on the spinning rod, that is the Lipless jerkbait. Now the last bait I'm going to talk to you about, this is the bait that got tied on my rod and reel at 5 years old, when I got to get in the boat with my Zebco 33 and fish with my dad. But I'm going to fish this a little different than I did 50 years ago or 49 years ago. And you all know I love to fish a spinnerbait, especially in the winter and the spring. But I fish a big spinnerbait with big blades in the winter and spring and slow roll that thing, and I get a lot of big bass. Well, I'm going to change it up in the fall. And I'm going to share with you a technique that I learned years ago that really works. And that spinnerbait is a little bit smaller profile. It's in a half. You can get it in a 3/8 or a half. I got it in a half here. But I like these small willow blades, and you'll understand why. Now this is the Jacob Willer, the 3-blade from him. I like this one in a shad color or a baitfish color. Now I am going to put a trailer on this. I'm going to put it. I like curly tail grubs on my spinnerbait. I always have. Now this is not to go around and burn the bank. This is not to buzz the bank like you do in the spring or the winter. I utilize this spinnerbait and this specific technique when bass are chasing shad out in open water. Now here's what I do. I take this spinnerbait and I know where the bass are. If I see them busting the water, or if I got them on my sonar, if I went over them with my downward scope, and I throw past the bass. And let's just say it's, for easy math, it's 20 feet of water. I'm gonna let this thing sink down about 10 feet of water, and then I'm gonna burn it right through the water column. Right through the water column all the way to the back of the bait. I'm just gonna burn this spinnerbait, and you will be shocked. You better hang on, because they hammer this spinnerbait When you buzz it through the bait fish or by them where the bait fish are, the bass just jump on this thing. It's extremely effective. I've utilized it for years. I've rarely shared this technique, maybe with one or two people, but learned it from my dad years ago, and he used to tell me, reel faster. You know, and I think we had 5 to 1 to 1 gear ratios was the best we had way back when, but he'd just tell me to reel faster, and the faster I reeled, the harder they would hit it. Very effective. Just buzz it and burn it through the bait fish around the bass, and those bass will chase it down. Let it sink to the mid column, say if it's 20 feet, down to 10 feet, and just burn it all the way back to the boat. They crush it. It really, really works. I promise you, try it. And the reason you want the smaller blades, a Colorado blade, it's hard to reel fast. And the bigger willow leafs are hard to reel fast. And this gives it a high vibration. These smaller willow leaf blades give high vibration that seems to drive those bass crazy and want them to jump on that spinnerbait. So that's the fourth bait. I'm going to fish this on my spinnerbait rod, 7'3" medium heavy, 8 to 1 gear ratio, 14 to 17, probably 17 pound test line, and fluorocarbon is what I'm going to throw my spinnerbait on. So again, I rarely have shared that technique with anybody, so that's kind of like one of the secret techniques that I utilize with the spinnerbait, especially in the fall. Well, hey folks, that's the 4 baits and the 4 techniques with these baits. I think if you utilize these or pick one of these up or try, you will be successful. I promise you, these are tied on my rods. Now all my rods and tackle are in my studio right now because I'm picking up my new boat tomorrow. So I brought everything out of my old boat and I'm going to migrate it to the new boat. But I can guarantee you one thing, these 4 baits will be tied on my rods when I get the new boat and when I get out there fishing in the next few days. I can't wait to get on the water in the new boat. But these techniques work, I promise you. I've caught fish on them for years. So I hope you learned something from tonight's episode or today's episode. And until next time, folks, tight lines and have fun fishing.